Hello, welcome to another tutorial from the team here at blendertech.com. That's blendertech.com. Today we will be showing you how to work with blueprints in Blender, how to scale them, how to align them perfectly, and different ways to do it. This will allow you to create 3D models in accurate ways and in the right proportions. As you can see here, everything is lined up nicely, and our car will come out working perfectly as a result of that. So I hope you learned something, and here's the rest of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Also visit blendtech.com for more articles, tutorials, how-tos, and downloads for Blender. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use blueprints to create a model. Using blueprints gives you a reference to create your model from. This allows you to have lines already there that you can use instead of guessing and constantly editing your vertexes and changing the lines around. This way you can essentially just retrace over the lines and you have basic shapes there, and then you can work on them to perfect them in 3D. So you're going from a 2D image to a 3D image. This may seem unintuitive at first, but actually it is very intuitive when you have all views of something that you're designing. Cars are the most common because you can find top, front, back, and side views of the car, and cars are usually in 99% of cases symmetrical. This means you can use mirror modifiers to create one half of your car, mirror it, and your other half is instantly there. This saves your time in modeling and allows you to create more models quickly, especially if you're using these models in a game. One of the great websites for finding car blueprints I found very easy is carblueprints.info. It usually is in Russian. When you open it, to get it in English, just go over and hit the English button. Another good one is the-blueprints.com, I believe. Just Google the blueprints. It has blueprints for all sorts of things, from cars, trucks, guns, everything. However, a lot of them are paid, and the unpaid ones are in lower resolutions. Your last option is to go to Google Image and just type in what you're looking for, followed by blueprint. And it's helpful if you add on an advanced search modifier to be large or larger than a certain size. The larger your blueprint, the more detail you have and the easier it will be. If you're trying to work from tiny image, it'll be pixelated and it's not going to be easy for you. That's why the-blueprints.com sells vector blueprints so that you can scale them up as big as you need. So at carblueprints.info you can search up the car that you want to model and find a good one. For example, I'm going to be showing you a Ford Mustang. My first car that I purchased was actually a 2005 Ford Mustang, so I'm going to be working with that today. We will go to Ford, then we're going to find the car that we're looking for. I am looking for a Ford Mustang. So here's all the Ford Mustangs. You have everything from 1964 all the way up to 2011. So 2005 was the first year of the 5th generation Mustang. Now on the right hand side here you have what views are available: F front, T top, R rear, and S side. You want to find something with all 4 sides. This is going to make things extremely easy. So click on the link that has all 4 views and you will see it. Download the blueprint and we'll move on to the next step. So here you can see I've downloaded my blueprint to its own individual folder. I recommend you do every one in its own individual folder, because you're going to have multiple files for each view. You're not going to do it just from the single image. So let's preview. Here you can see the car blueprint that I have downloaded. It's a 2005 Mustang GT V8. Again, this is the first car I own, so I'm very familiar with it. I can tell that all the lines are in good proportion. This blueprint is especially special because it has front, side, top, and rear views, but it also has the rear and front views scaled to the same size as the top and I believe the side views. So this makes it easier for you when you import them into Blender. However, I'm just going to be using the full size front and back views. They are the exact same images in this instance, they're just scaled down and rotated. So let's go ahead and edit this image so that we can import them into Blender. You can use any image program you use, Photoshop, GIMP, Paint.net. I'm just going to use MS Paint for now because it's quick and easy. So for example, we have the back view here. What we would do is we would drag as carefully as we can right around the image. You want to get as close to the borders as possible. And then all we do is we copy or cut the image. Now in a new instance of Paint, or if you're working in Photoshop or GIMP in a new file or even a new layer, paste what you've just cut out. Here we go. Now this is where you have to do a little bit of cleaning up and prep work. The more prep work you do and the more accurate you do this, the better your results are going to be and the easier your modeling is going to be in Blender, as well as lining it up in Blender. So let me show you what I mean. Let's zoom into the very corner right by the wheel and mirror here. What we want to do is we want to drag that, as in resizing the image, so that it's right on the edge of the mirror pixels and it's right on the bottom of the tire pixels, like so. So as you can see in the bottom here, the very bottom of our edge touches the very bottom of the wheels, and when we go to the far side of the image, which are the mirrors, you can see they just touch the edge of the pixels of the mirrors. This way the image is going to be in exact proportions. Now we need to do this to the top left corner of the image. What we're going to do is we're just going to move the image to do this. So I'm zoomed in as far as I can here so that I can see the far left hand side of the image, again the mirror, and the very top of the image, which is the curved section of the roof. And so again, all we're going to do is move the image so that it's pixel perfect lined up to the edge of the image. So we're going to move it up just till it touches the pixels right there, and then we're going to move it to the left again till it just touches the pixels. Again, you could go one more because there's a little bit of pixelation in the image. So now our image is perfectly cut out to the very edges of the blueprint. If you can't find the blueprints you're looking for, you can use photos. However, try to find one that has the least amount of perspective possible. Perspective will ruin all the lining up you do in Blender and make your job a lot harder. If you cannot find a perfectly orthographic line drawing, you can even draw it yourself. Whatever you do, the proportions have to be as close as possible, if not perfect, especially if you're just starting out. That way, as I said, you can just trace essentially. Now that I've lined up the top left hand corner of the image, I'm going to zoom out again and just make sure that the bottom right corner is again lined up with the bottom of the tire and the side of the mirror. So if we zoom out again, we will see now that all edges are lined up with the edges of the image in question. So now save this to our folder we created as a simple file name. Just call it, for example, this is the back view, just call it back.extension. So I'm going to save it as back.png. Now back on our main image, we're going to do the same for the front view. Here we have the front view finished. We're going to continue now with the side view. The stock hotkey in Blender is for the right view, which would happen to be the driver's side. So if your blueprint is of the passenger side like it is here, all you need to do is rotate it horizontally and then you have the driver's side. Now I happen to know this actually is the driver's side because on this model of Mustang, the gas tank cap on the driver's side. So rotate it so that the front is pointing to the left. That way, your front view and your back view will line up properly when you select the different views in Blender. Lastly, we're going to do the top view, and this is where the most steps are involved. Now that we have the top view cut out pixel perfect, you have to remember one thing. Imagine your blueprint as a rectangle in 3D space. You've got your front view on the front, your back view on the back, and your side view on each side. The top view, however, in its current orientation, which is horizontal, would not fit your rectangle. So what we need to do is we need to simply rotate it 90 degrees. This is an important step that a lot of people forget, and then they end up having to go back and re-edit. We now have all 4 sides finished. You can see what I mean about rotating the top view. This way it's up and down, just like the front and back view are. A good way to check if you did a good cutting job and if your blueprint is in perfect proportions is to check the dimensions of the image. So if we select just the back and front views, we can see that their dimensions are both 690 by 482 pixels. They are both exactly the same size. This is going to make our job much easier in Blender. The same idea applies to the side and top views. If you notice, the side it's 1691 pixels long. Now the top view is 1691 pixels tall. The top view's side is going to line up with the side view's side. However, the front and back, if they are the same values, that is most important. You're in good, clean business. Your job is going to be easy as cream in Blender. So now let's go into Blender and show you how to work with these blueprint images. I suggest you switch your view from user perspective to orthographic perspective by pressing numpad 5. This prevents any perspective from being shown. In fact, I suggest you do most, if not all, of your modeling in orthographic perspective. This will prevent you from making any mistakes due to perspective. Now there's 2 ways to work with blueprints in Blender. The first way is to insert the image as a plane. A plane is just a single square face, 4 vertices, 4 lines, 1 face, and it will insert your image on top of that plane essentially. So let's start with top perspective because that's what we're going to be doing most of our tracing with. So press numpad 7 to move to top perspective. As you can see, now that we're in orthographic perspective, there is no perspective to the view. This is how most CAD modeling is done, and it keeps your proportions correct and it makes modeling a lot easier. Inserting an image as a plane is not enabled by default because it's not the best way to do this. If you want to do it this way, however, bring up your user preferences from the file menu or press Ctrl-Alt-U. Now under the Add-ons tab, search for Image and simply enable the Import Image as Planes add-on. So now that Import Image as Planes is enabled, let's go Add, Mesh, Image as Planes, or the hotkey Ctrl-A, Mesh, Images as Planes. It will now bring you up to a selection window where you can select your images from. So let's navigate to where our images are stored. As you can see, we have the back, front, side, and top. I save them in PNG format because that's the main format that Blender uses. So let's choose the top image because we are using the top view. So just click Import Images as Planes, and you will now see if we zoom in, there's nothing there. What is the problem? The problem is we are in solid view. This is just a plane solidly textured. We want to go into texture, because technically Blender is texturing your plane with a simple image that you selected. If you move out of textured mode into solid or wireframe, you're not going to be able to see your image. That's why this is not a good choice. If you don't know what orthographic view is versus perspective, do a quick Google search on it or view one of my other videos and I will describe it. I will leave a link annotation to that video at the position where it's described once I have that video uploaded. Now you could continue adding your images as planes from the top view, the front view, and the side view, which is right in our instance. To view the back view, hit Control and then numpad 1, and that will bring you to the back, whereas just hitting 1 will bring you to the front. Same with the top view. Hitting numpad 7 brings you to the top, whereas Control 7 brings you to the bottom. Again, on the right side view, numpad 3 brings you to right view, and Control 3 brings you to left view. Now, the best way to use your images as blueprints is to use them as what Blender calls background images. This is how I've seen all tutorials done, this is how I do it, and this gives you the most flexibility over your images. Let me show you how to do this. Press N to open the N menu. I'm sure this menu has a name, but I have no idea what it's called, so I just simply call it the N menu. Open up the N menu and enable background images by clicking the radio checkbox. Now expand the panel and you will see we have an option to add an image, which has the description add a new background image. So let's add the top view again, since again that will be the one that we will be working with most. Press add image and you will see all these options. The first thing to do is choose your axis. Since we're working in top view first, click on the drop down list, select top view, and if you click on browse image to be linked, this button right here, you can choose one that you've already imported, but if we haven't done that already, this will be empty. So instead, we're going to hit the open button. Now again, browse to where you have the images stored and choose the top image, and again open image. Now our top image is opened and its axis is aligned to the top. You may be saying to yourself, we can't see the images again. That's because we're in our own view mode. We need to move to the top view mode to be able to see this. So press 7 again. There's our image right there. This image is not a mesh, it's just simply overlaid, so it will not interact with any of the objects you create. Now most people take the size option and change it from 5 to 1. This just keeps your units in line so that one Blender unit goes all the way across your image. As well, this helps in aligning the view. The X option here, as you can see, moves it in the X axis left and right. We're going to be using this to line up our images very soon, but for now just leave it at 0. Y does the same thing. It moves it up and down. The opacity changes how dark the image is compared to the background. Most people leave this at the stock setting of 0.5 so that they can see the image well. There's a problem with that. The lines in your images are dark black, and since we'll be tracing these lines, you won't be able to see them very well, and we'll be working in wireframe view a lot, so this makes it hard to see. So for that reason, I usually change my opacity down to about 250 or a little less or a little more, depending on the brightness of your screen and how your user interface is laid out. If you have your user interface so that lines are a different color or you have a different background color, you can change the opacity for the best settings for you. Again, this will take some playing around with. Obviously, the I button here allows you to see or not see the image in top mode. This is good if you need to have the same image copied twice, but in a different orientation. For example, let's say your front view didn't quite line up. You would open the front view again so that you have two front views, and you would use one at a time depending where you need them to be lined up. Your second one, for example, if you line it up perfectly with the top view, you would use that when you're working in the top and front view. But if your first one lines up with the side view, then you would use that one and the side view since they're lined up. Now let's continue adding in our images, the other views. Let's drop down the top view and let's add another image. Let's click add image again. This time we're going to do the side view, so select right, because remember we aligned our side view to be the driver's side, and also because pressing numpad 3 brings you to right orthographic view. This saves you from having to press Control 3 if you're working from the left side. But if your view is from the left side, then obviously you would do it from the left. Or if you have an image of both sides because there's differences between them and they're not symmetrical, you would use both right and left. But usually you're just going to use right as a side view and mirror it. We do the same steps as before. We simply hit open, navigate to our images, and open the right image for the axis, which happens to be side. There you go. Since we're already in right orthographic view, or we're going to call it side view since it's our side image, we now see our side image. Again, for now, let's leave the settings all the same. I'll continue adding the images now until we have the front and back aligned to their own respective axis. As you can see now, we have our front and back views added in addition to our top and side. I like to order it in order of how often I use the image. I use the top and side views the most often, followed by the front view, and I usually do the back of the car last, so I leave that at the very bottom. So we have our top view, we have our front view, we have our side view or right, and we have our back view by hitting Control and numpad 1 again. From front view, I want to show you a quick little trick. If you take the opposite view, which happens to be the back, and change it to all views, you will now see the back view is overlaid over top of the front view. This can show you very quickly if your views are lined up or not. So now the first step in aligning our image, let's start with the side view, because it has a good representation of where the vehicle would be sitting, the bottom of the wheels. What we're going to do is drop down the side view, and we're going to move the image up till the wheels just touch the line. Now don't forget to change all your scales to 1. Now since it's scaled to 1, all I had to do was move it up 1 blender unit in the Z direction up, and it's almost perfectly lined up. You can see we're off by just less than half of a square. So just play with the values until it's perfect. There you go. We're about bang on. You know what, I'm actually going to do 991. Playing around here and getting it right bang on is how you're going to be able to model your car easily, the fastest, and in the right proportions. So in the rest of the views, just make sure that the tires are aligned and your size is scaled to 1. I'm going to continue doing this for the front and back views because they have views of the tires. As you can see in front view, by moving it up just 1 blender unit, we are almost perfectly lined up. In fact, since we cut our image out so well in our image editing program, it is perfectly lined up. We do not have to move it anymore. This keeps things simple. In back view, you can see we didn't do as perfect of a job as cutting, so we're going to have to play with the value a bit. There we go, perfectly lined up with the x-axis. The wheels now in all views that have wheels are perfectly lined up. Now the most important part of lining up our images, lining them up in 3D space with the 3D cursor, which you can move by left clicking if you don't know. So choose a part on your image that is available in both front and back views. A good place to start is the mirrors. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to choose the very corner of the mirror from the back view. Now if we move to the front view, we check to make sure that it's lined up with the very corner of the mirror. As you can see, it's within a pixel or two, so that is darn close enough for the girls I go out with. This means that our image is in perfect proportions and everything will be modeled nicely. When we create our mirror from front view, it will be perfectly aligned in back view, making our job so much easier. Just double check a few places to make sure your image is in the right proportions. Now the tougher part is to get the top view aligned with the front view and the side view. What we want to do, starting with the side view, is again choose something to align with. What I think I'm going to choose, and what you're usually going to use, is the mirrors. In the side view, I'm going to choose the very top of the mirror. Since we're in orthographic mode, and since we're only moving in the y-axis, now move back to front view, and as you can see, it's not aligned with the very top of the mirror. This is because we've only aligned it in the side view. Let's move to the top view and place the 3D cursor in the same spot where it would be. So let's move it again to the very top of the mirror. Now go back to your side view and you can see that it's still in line with the mirror, but it's not where we expect it to be. And if we go to front view, again, it's not where it should be, right in the top here. To fix this, we're going to need to resize our images. Let's center our images now. To make sure they're centered, zoom in to the very middle of your image. I like to start again with the top view. Zoom in very, very close to the center point and pick something that is centered in the car. In all cars, something is in the center. This blueprint is great because it has a hood crease going down the very center of the car. As you can see, we need to move it over just a hair. So let's move it along the x-axis to the right just a little bit, say 0.05. As you can see, that was too far. We need about half of that. That's pretty darn close. I would say about 2.5, which is half of 0.05. As you can see, we're now closer than a explosive word hair to the middle. You can keep tweaking this till it's perfectly in the middle, but Blender does not have that amount of accuracy. Now let's do this for the rest of the views. I'll be moving to front view next. Again, let's choose something that's centered. For example, the pony would be centered, but I happen to know that the grill is centered. As you can see, again, it's pretty darn close, but the gap on the right side is bigger. So let's close top view, go to front view, and let's move it over. Let's try the same value again, 0.0037. We need to go in the opposite direction, so negative 0.00312. That is, again, close enough for the girls I go out with. So now our front view is aligned. Let's go to the back. Open up our back view and switch to back view, Control 1, and choose something in the center. This image is harder because it has nothing at the bottom or the very top to line up with. A lot of blueprints will leave a center line for you to line up in their images, but this one doesn't. However, I happen to know that the GDT symbol is exactly center in the trunk lid. As you can see, It's not quite perfect. It needs to be right in between the G and the T. So let's try the same values. That's as close as we're gonna need for the front and back views. So now our views are aligned horizontally so that they will mirror perfectly, as well as vertically so that the tires are all touching the ground. Now we need to line up our images in 3D view. Choose a point in one of the views. I'm in the back view now. I'm going to close this panel just so it's out of the way. Choose a point that's a good reference that is in both images. On most cars this will be the mirrors, so I'm going to choose the very corner of the mirror in the back view. Let's move to the front view, and as you can see it's really darn close to where we selected on the back view. Now the mirrors might be tapered or the drawing might be off. I suggest, however, you choose as many spots as possible to see if it lines up. So now let's align the top view with the front and back views. Go into top view and choose another point that is available in all views to go from. Again, we're probably going to use the mirror. So I'm going to use the corner edge of the mirror. Go into front view and you can see that it's right on the edge. So that means that in top view, the edge of the mirror is aligned with the edge of the mirror in front view as well. If we go to back view, you can see that if we follow that line up, again it hits the very side of the mirror, so that's aligned as well. Now let's align the side views. This is where it gets tough. If we choose the top edge of the mirror and move to front view, you can see that it's way off. It's not where it should be. If you go to back view, same result. If you go to top view, same result. It's not where it should be. We want to choose the corner of the mirror in the top view and in the side view. But they just won't line up for us. Everything seems to be off in every view. This means we need to rescale our images. So since the front and the back view are the same proportion, since we already checked them, we're going to leave them the same size. Since the top view is an image that we're going to use most often, we're going to leave it the same because it lines up perfectly with our front and back views. Let's choose one more point to see if this lines up in 3D space. I'm going to choose the top of the windshield. Now since we're working in 3D space, let's go to side view and let's click where the top of the windshield would be. If we go back to top view, you can see it's not quite right. And in front view, it's way off. So what that means is we have to move one of these views so that everything lines up right. Since the top of the windshield lines up nice and center and at the very top in top view and in front view, I'm going to leave these two alone. But we're going to have to resize front view. As you can see, that's where the top of the windshield should be, the 3D cursor. So don't move it and go into your side view settings and play around with it until you get the size to where it needs to be. So you'll have to change the size and then you'll have to move it back up so that the wheels line up with the ground. You can usually do one click on size and then move it one click on Y. Oops, I did two by accident, and that will keep everything aligned. As you can see now, it's aligned with the very center at the very top of the windshield in the side view mode. If we go to top view mode, it's aligned with the very top view in the center of the view. We'll realign this just to double check. There we go, it's nice and centered. And we're going to move back to the side view just to double check. Close enough for the girls I go with. We go to front view, bam, that is pretty darn close. I actually think the front view image is not quite centered perfectly. I think this grill wasn't drawn in the right proportions. I think I should have aligned it with something else, but it's so darn close it's not going to matter too much. So choose a few more spots to make sure your image is right. Let's choose the top of the mirror again. Remember we had problems with that earlier? So I'm going to choose the corner of the mirror in front view. I'm going to move to top view, and I'm going to move it to where the corner of the mirror would be. Then I'm going to go to side view. See, now it lines up with the side view of the mirror. Now everything is in proportion. Everything lines up. So there you have it. Your images are now aligned in 3D view as well as 2D view. And you can go ahead and start modeling. Add mesh plane.
You'll start with planes almost all the time when you're starting out car renders. We're going to scale it down to about the size of the sides of the hood, and then we're going to grab it in the y-axis, bring it to the corners, and then we're going to go into edit mode, and we're going to take this corner, and we're going to grab it to the other corner of the hood. We're going to take this corner, and grab it to the other corner of the hood.
So all you need to do is line up your points in all views, and you'll have your basic shape, and you can work from there. But that's for another tutorial. So to finish off, just play with the scaling and get everything lined up perfectly, and you will be able to model everything perfectly. And if not perfectly, close enough that nobody will ever be able to tell. That's all for today's tutorial on how to work with blueprints in Blender. I hope you learned something. If you enjoyed the video and it was helpful, please press the like button and please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I like to upload at least 1 to 10 videos a day. Please visit my website as well, and there we post more articles. There's things to download and other stuff for Blender. That's all for now. If you dislike this video, please leave me a comment why, so that I can improve my videos in the future. If you just hit the dislike button and don't tell anybody why, that does no one any good, because the videos will continue being crappy in your view, and they will continue being crappy to other people's views. So tell me why you didn't like the video if you didn't, and I will fix it in the future so that I can try to be perfect to as many users as possible. Again, that's all for now. From blendtech.com, create your way.